There's something I found that's very interesting. We looked at this probably 6, 7 months ago or so, and we found some extreme consistencies with last market cycle. It seems like a lot of people, despite the dilution of the market, despite all these other assets in the crypto space, the capital still flocks to the top. And this is actually where a lot of the interest resides heading into what could be a big time of adoption. And what I find very interesting too is that ADA right now is being mass marketed, and people don't even realize that. We'll discuss all that and more in this video. So if you guys are new or haven't already, show your support for the channel down below. Hit that subscribe button, that bell. It's free to do. It'll keep you updated anytime there's new content live here on the channel. So again, today, we're probably going to see some ups and downs. So far, it's about 7:30 a.m. U.S. money has woken up. They've started moving the market to the upside. Hopefully this continues to be the trend over the course of the day. But again, big days that you need to know about. Tomorrow, following the likely government shutdown. I won't say it's going to happen for sure, but it seems likely right now. And then also Friday, when that jobs report comes out. Those are probably the days we're going to see some massive volatility. Volume in the crypto market is in fact elevated. We're looking at the space in general, 170 billion plus in trading volume. If we're looking at the top, or if we're looking at ADA itself, $1 billion in trading volume yet again. This seems to be a very comfortable area for ADA. So there's a lot of activity. You're seeing exactly what you need to see to move the markets to the upside, and hopefully that ends up being the case. But one thing I wanted to point to is that I think we could all agree that ADA and Cardano could be marketed better. It could be, brought to people's attention, whether that's inside the space or outside the space, a lot better. But there's a lot of inadvertent marketing that people aren't realizing. So I don't know if anybody's paid attention to a lot of the news outlets lately, or a lot of the people that are talking to the masses. And I'm talking about legacy media. And what we're seeing is that ADA is showing up in a lot of tickers that it used to not. For example, NBC's Jimmy Fitz advises new crypto investors to stay with big solid names at the beginning, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Cardano, Solana, and Hedera. A lot of the masses, the legacy investors, those that are in the stock market, etc., are going to be looking at some of the biggest, most proven assets in the crypto market. And what that means is that you're likely going to be seeing those ones that have big institutional interest, the ones that have spot ETF products in place, are probably going to be where a lot of that larger capital out there flocks into. And I'm not talking about the masses that have $100 here, $1,000 there, right? I'm talking about big money. They're going to flock to the largest assets in the space first, and then it's going to trickle down. That's what we tend to see happen anyways as we move through these phases. And for all intents and purposes, like we've discussed, we started to move into phase 3. And remember, Cardano, ADA, huge narratives right now. Big ETF filings that will likely turn into approvals. And guys, institutional demand for ADA, I saw somebody laugh about this earlier. Institutional demand for ADA is high. That's why it's in multiple basket ETFs. That's why there's multiple ADA spot ETF filings that are going to turn into ETFs in a not so distant time frame. We could be talking about potentially weeks here, guys. And that is where we start seeing some of these interesting projections for ADA possibly become a reality. Now, what I wanted to point to as well is, right now we're seeing a lot of similarities to what we saw last market cycle. In fact, we've talked about this elongated period. We talked about how we're very much mimicking what we did in late 2020, basically October, November, December, before we had these huge booms. What's very interesting about this is ADA is at the exact same point of dominance, about 0.75%. It's exactly where we were this time last market cycle, right before things started to get wild. Now, again, if ADA does what it did last market cycle, which is very possible, we could in fact see ADA run to somewhere around a $400 to $480 billion market cap, potentially $500 billion. All right. That is where you get your $7 to $15 ADA that people continue to laugh at. But, with the embrace that we're seeing coming for the crypto market, would not surprise me if that's the number. I'm not saying this is going to happen by the end of the year by any means. Obviously, a lot of things have been different this year, but that seems to be the trajectory for where the crypto market is headed. And those numbers come off of that $10 to $12 trillion projection for the overall crypto market. And what I found very interesting was I was looking back at these numbers that we were discussing maybe 6-7 months ago, and I found some very interesting consistencies from last market cycle to this market cycle. Actually, at that point in the market cycle, we were at about 98.64% of the market cap of crypto existed in the top 100 assets. We also saw that 87.72% of it resided in the top 10 assets. Well, let's fast forward to this market cycle. Where are we at right now? 99.27% of capital in the top 100 assets, 91.47% existing in the top 10 assets. So yes, we actually have a higher concentration towards the top, higher interest towards the top than what we have seen throughout history. And this has been the case as the cycles have moved on. Capital compresses more towards the top. There's more interest in these assets, but this is exactly how you can see these big movements in some of these blue chip assets, right? And obviously things that have been working in ADA's favor and will continue to work in ADA's favor, quote unquote cult-like community, limited supply on exchanges, and huge narrative right now. Whether you want to pick the institutional side, development side, government embrace side, enterprise, whatever it may be, we're making progress in all these, and that's exactly what we need. So I appreciate you guys as always. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts below, but have a great day. Catch you guys in the next one. Take care.